Welcome to Vivid Vision's Tech Talk. This is Dr. Steve, and we're going to be taking a look at the Joomla content management system in this series. Most of these presentations are going to be kept fairly short, and we're not going to get too deep into it, but enough that beginners and intermediates may find some of the information handy. Joomla does have a pretty steep learning curve. I'm the owner of Vivid Vision Imaging, and we're hosting this presentation. I have a doctorate degree and a technical degree. I'm a technician, writer, and teacher. I've been in IT for 38 years, and been programming and building Joomla since about 2009, right around version 1.5. And so we've seen a lot of changes over the years, but today we're just going to go over a few basics, kind of go over an introduction to the Joomla content management system. Now, Joomla was first introduced in 2005 as a fork of Mambo. And for those of you who are not familiar with the term fork, it's synonymous with a branch. And you'll find that very common, especially in the Linux, where they call them distros for short for distribution. You'll have a group of programmers working with open source code that wants to take a project in a different direction, and so they'll branch off, and that's referred to as a fork. So Mambo was under development in 2005, and some programmers that were working on the Mambo project wanted to take the project into a different direction. They forked off and developed Joomla. Now, between 2005 and 2011, when version 1.5 was released, there were several release candidates, or RCs released, but none of them were production ready. Joomla 1.5, released in 2011, was the first LTS, which is a long-term service release, but as far as true functionality goes, it was still pretty rough. I remember that there was very little third-party development support. Some of the internal functions really weren't smooth in the way that they worked. Many functions really weren't there yet. So, you know, that's not that uncommon with a first release anyway. So it wasn't too much longer that we came over to 2.5 that created some changes. Some improvements, but some of the critical things like moving from version to version, there was no upgrade path. There was still limited third-party support, though it was growing. And then we've got it moved on to version 3.1 or 3x, which we're still on today. I think the current version is 3.8 something right now. Like 3.86, I think 3.86 or 3.87. And of course, when Joomla went from 2.5 to 3.1, there was a complete restructuring of the SQL database, which means there was no upgrade path and everything had to be done manually. So there were some rough beginnings with Joomla, but all in all, it is a very robust content management system that offers incredible tools and versatility in customizing a large websites. The version 3.1 included the Bootstrap 3.0 framework, but it wasn't implemented. It was just included. The developers have released the Bootstrap 4.0 is integrated, not just included, but integrated into the 4.0 release, which is expected later in 2018. So that's where we are right now. The current LTS version, I believe, was 3.8, and we are expecting the 4.0 release late in 2018, and it's supposed to have the integrated Bootstrap 4.0. And the Bootstrap is, it's a framework, but that was developed by Twitter. All right, so let's take a quick look at some of the companies that are using Joomla. It'll give you a better idea on how the content management system is best applied. eBay, General Electric, IKEA, Holiday Inn, and Harvard University are just a handful of the nationally known companies that do use Joomla. But if we consider how eBay uses it, it gives you a good idea of the capabilities of the Joomla content management system. You see, eBay is a point of sale a site, and Joomla excels in POS or point of sale systems or e-commerce systems. eBay also has the ability to have multiple designs. You have user accounts. You have user pages where they have e-stores. You can go through and you can do searches by categories. You can have large groups and listings, and all of these functions are managed by Joomla. So if you consider how all of the different types of features that you find when you visit eBay, you'll begin to see the versatility of the Joomla content management system. Demographics show that Joomla is well behind WordPress as far as popularity goes. I think it was the 4th or 5th most widely used content management system, but demographically only had about 4.5% of the CMS market. But of those users of the Joomla content management system, 57% were companies with less than 50 employees, and of that 57%, most of the companies had less than 10 employees. So that we see that the Joomla content management system is favored by small to medium-sized companies. Let's take a look at the industries where you will find Joomla. Information technology and services, which is what Vivid Vision is. We are an information technology and service business, and we specialize in development and hosting support of the Joomla content management system. So we fit that category very well. Computer software or software developers are users of Joomla. Nonprofit organization and management. One of Vivid's clients is a nonprofit organization. Hospitals and healthcare, internet services, construction, management consulting, and there we go, retail or e-commerce. And another one of Vivid Vision's large clients is an online retail e-commerce site, and it's all built in Joomla. And finally, we also have education management. And again, another one of Vivid Vision's clients is in education. So, in fact, we've constructed a full online school. And that particular site, I think right now is about 1,600 pages. And I think I want to mention, we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in a moment. But I think that's going to be one of the key points that differentiates users of WordPress to the users of Joomla, is that Joomla manages those sites that have hundreds and thousands of pages much better. Oh, speaking of WordPress, here we go. Okay, so which content management system is best for you? Now, WordPress is a great content management system. I've got places where I'm using WordPress, but I'm using it for blogging and for online portfolios, which it is fantastic for that purpose. And so the key here is when you're debating a content management system is not to go with necessarily what's popular, but you gotta look at what your need is. And then once you determine what your need is, then find the content management system that has the best tools to service that need. Now, Joomla excels in e-commerce sites. I've said that a couple times already, and it comes back as the top feature for a Joomla site. And as I said a moment ago, sites that are large, all right, hundreds or thousands of page sites. The school that I built is about 1,000, 500,000, 600 pages right now. The publishing company that I built out with Joomla is between 600 and 800 pages. And so you see, if you're just a small business and you want to have, a home page and a blog and a contact us, you can probably get by with WordPress. But if you're going to be going out and creating an online presence and selling an e-commerce store, and you want to incorporate a variety of different features, then Joomla just might be the right fit for you. So, and that kind of gets into multi-function sites. Joomla is a very good multi-function content management system. And what I mean by that is that not only can you manage an e-store, but you can also manage a training section. You can have an administration section. You can have part of it devoted to promotions and email marketing. You can have a public section that your clients and customers go to. You can have an administration section where your staff goes to. So it can manage all of these things at the same time, all in one content management system instead of having to divide it up. That's just not a feature that WordPress is inclined to do. Another good thing about Joomla is custom designs. Joomla has the ability to have multiple layouts. So, in WordPress, they call it a style. Well, maybe it was a template. Yeah, it's a template in Joomla and WordPress. So in WordPress, you're going to have a template, and the template's going to define how the WordPress is going to look. Now, the only way that you can go in and change that on the WordPress is to go into your template editor and select a different template, and you publish the template across the entire site at one time. But Joomla is not like that at all. You can have different sections of Joomla, each one have its own template. You can have different pages have its own template. So it's very easy to create different feelings and different themes for different parts of your site, depending on what the category of that particular area is. You might want, to have your point of sale area looking very different from an educational area, or maybe you have an area where you have subscription access. All right, that could have its own very unique appearance. That is different from the administration section and different from the retail section or the public section. And Joomla excels in doing that. That's just completely not possible with WordPress. So I mentioned before, we got promotions from a single location and multiple users. So those are some of the pluses with Joomla. Now, WordPress, as I said a moment ago, blogging, portfolios. Now, WordPress at its heart is a blogging platform. It's good with portfolios. It's well suited for online magazines and news, small business, and blending static pages with blog content. Like I said, like 4 or 5 static pages, a page with your services, and a contact us page, and a about us and meet the staff page, and the home page. And then you're going to have one page where you can update your blogs. And if that's all you need, then go with WordPress. You're not really going to be leveraging Joomla. The other thing is that if you're going to maintain it in-house, you're going to have your staff do it or employees do it, then WordPress is it's more automated. It's more user-friendly. The updates are automatic. Joomla, truthfully, is a lot more maintenance-heavy and requires hands-on in order to keep it up running smoothly. So it's going to require more on labor. So let's take a look at some different ways to use Joomla. We've been talking about point-of-sale systems or e-commerce already. You can use it for CRM or contact relationship management. You can also use it for project management. Project management is really quite nice inside of Joomla. You can lay out a project, set up milestones, your beginning, your middle, your end. You can assign different functions to different users, create different teams, assign different tasks to different teams, set start dates and completion dates, and everything. There's a communication system between, so you can monitor the progress of multiple teams contributing to a larger project. It's really a very robust way for management to be able to go in and oversee the implementation of a very complex project through the project management features. You can also do your email marketing directly through Joomla. And one of the things that has always kind of irked me over the years, and I've seen businesses do their marketing in a variety of different ways, and a lot of times businesses will go to Constant Contact because they just don't realize or understand how to implement it themselves. I think one of the things that really irks me is I get a business that looks very reputable, and yet they'll have a business card with an AOL address on it. So, talk with Mike, the sales manager at mike@aol.com. It carries with it no credibility at all. In fact, it raises eyebrows, and I would be very skeptical about a business that projected themselves or presented themselves that way. Now, with the email marketing software and functions that's available inside of Joomla, you can have an email server and run all of your email marketing from inside of Joomla, and all of it comes with your is presented, sent and received with your company's URL. And that's really the way to go if you want to continuously project credibility. Another area that Joomla excels in is event registration and management. If you're going to have events, whether they're online events or webinars like we're doing right now, or events where people are come to a networking event, or maybe a lunch and learn at the Chamber of Commerce, or any type of event where you want to get the word out and you want people to register. All right, so that's event and registration management. Joomla, again, it manages this very, very well. All right, I'm building Joomla Toolbox. This series is going to stay a little bit more on the technical side. And Joomla can be, for the engineer or the technician, the Joomla builder, or even the in-house technical support, you can do it. Joomla can be managed live, which means on a live web server. It can be done locally under a local host. Now you can use XAMPP for the local host functions, but over the years I found that it cuts my workload to work live. But I've learned a lot of tricks along the way that speed up production. And as we move forward in this series, we'll take a look at some of those tips and tricks and techniques that help to speed up production. For today, let's just conclude this presentation by going through the Joomla Toolbox. One of the things that I use is multiple displays. It's very difficult to program and to manage Joomla from one. So I like to have the editor and developer window open on one. And I actually used 3 displays, but I wouldn't do any less than 2. And of course, on the displays, I'm going to have 2 to 3 web browsers, either the Firefox with add-ons or the Firefox Developer Edition. I'm also going to have Chrome and possibly Chrome in the developer mode, as well as a secure web browser, something like maybe Epic Privacy Browser. It's a fork. There you go. There's that fork word. A fork of the open source Chrome, Google Chrome browser. And the reason you want to do that is if you're programming in Joomla and your browser starts displaying cache content instead of live content, you can waste a lot of time trying to track down and fix something that doesn't exist. So you want to have at least one browser that's not storing any kind of cache, that's always drawing something new. So that's one of the reasons that I do that. I use the Firefox add-ons, which is the Colorzilla and the Measure It. When you're designing and developing and building in Joomla, being able to identify what colors to program into your CSS is critical. And having Colorzilla there, you can open up your page, look at the colors, identify what you want, and then stay within your color scheme by selecting. It'll tell you what your hexadecimal values are for your CSS code. Another thing is the measure it. It's an on-screen measuring tool, which is wonderful when you're programming, because you might want to fit what text into a specific position inside of the Joomla template, and you only have so much room to work with. So you want to create a custom graphic that lays into the background of a division container, and it has to be a very specific size. And the measure, it's fantastic. Go up, just draw it out there. It tells you exactly how wide it has to be. You can go create your custom graphics. Another thing is a local editor. I like using Aptana Studio for local editing versus live editing, because in the live editor, which is in Joomla, you've got the native editor. Well, most people put in this content editor, which is an add-on component. The problem with using an editor inside Joomla, whether it's a native one or an add-on one, is that once you save the changes are saved. I have found it invaluable to be able to move forwards and backwards when you're editing changes. So I like using the Aptana because I can take the full page code, whatever article code I'm working on. I can be coding in one screen. I copy and paste it and test it live. And if I get 5 or 6 or 7 edits down the road and decide, I'm heading down the wrong path, I need to back up, instead of having to wipe everything clean like you would have to do if you're editing in Joomla, you can simply hit an undo on the editor, and it will take you right back to the place where you want to fork to a different direction. So Aptana is really great for that. FileZilla speeds up editing because instead of having to upload from an internal file, there is an upload feature inside of Joomla, but it's far faster just to have the FileZilla set up with your source and destination, and if you hit an update, you just click upload, and bam, 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 the files are uploaded. And again, we mentioned XAMPP, which is that's a Windows-based Apache server software. So you can run a version of Apache server right on your Windows machine and test and debug your Joomla installation under a local host. But I found that can, depending on your environments, that can be problematic because there can be changes between the live version of the whatever configuration the web server is versus what you have on your local host. I find it much more efficient to code directly on the server that will be hosting the content. All right, so next time we're going to be talking about Joomla Essentials, essential components, modules, plugins that every Joomla site absolutely must have. There are a few security add-ons that if you're going to have a Joomla site, you absolutely must have them. So that's going to be the topic we'll be talking about next week. That concludes today's presentation. Thank you all for joining in Vivid Visions Tech Talk. Hope to see you next time.